Gotta check my face. I'm okay. Hi guys, I'm back. All right, so it's Ania from Interior Design Hub here with some more information. All right, so today I want to talk to you guys about, or for interior designers to be honest, the NCIDQ exam. But it's really interesting because it's actually my story on this crazy long journey that I've been on to get here. All right, I'm going to stumble over this probably 50 million times, so I'm just going to say it. National Council of Interior Design Qualifications. Yes. I don't know why all these years there's just too many letters. Just too many letters. Anyways, so I wrote it and I passed. But that's not the actual story. Because wouldn't it be nice if that was the actual story? All right, so let's rewind to the beginning. I started in interior design 2006, when I went back to school. So before that, I went to school for business when I was younger. So I went to school for business. I graduated from business, and then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I had a few jobs, some really interesting jobs to getting into interior design. So I knew that I had a creative side to myself. I didn't know at that time the difference between interior design and interior decorating, and I've already covered that. So we've gone through that in great detail. Once I started doing my research, I knew that I wanted to use that analytical side that I had because that's the business side of me and the creative side of me. So I really felt like interior design was my path. So I go to school for interior design and it's like everything I ever expected it to be and more. It's just so much fun. I love every moment of it. Working really hard. It was not easy. There's a lot of technical, learning AutoCAD, learning the building code, understanding building systems, all new stuff, but just couldn't get enough. Like, give me more, give me more, give me more. So graduate. This is now my passion, my dream. 2008, before I graduate, that's when the recession hit. So by the time I do graduate, it's like, it's not good. It was just no jobs. Like, there was just no work. So I had the goal of writing my NCIDQ. And in order to do that, I needed to work so many hours. And if I wanted to ever get to the point where I could actually say I am a registered interior designer, I needed to work. So I was taking whatever. So I was working for free. I was volunteering. I was anything that I could get some time. So it was about a year after I graduated that I actually got my first real design job. And I just plugged away. And then I finally got my job that I'm at now, which is awesome. And I've been there now for 8 years. So I've been there a long time. And getting to that point was such a struggle that for a while I wasn't even sure if I was going to do my NCIDQ anymore. I was just happy to have a job, which is not the way, I wanted it to be, but that's just the time that we're in. The one thing that I really need to share with you guys is that I definitely questioned my decision a few times along the initial few years of being in the design business, mostly because there just wasn't any work. So you're kind of like, I gave up a really good job to do this and I can't get a job. And I think that's, some people are probably going to face that in the next couple of years, to be honest with you, with everything that's happening currently and what's probably going to happen with the economy. I think a lot of people actually can probably share from this experience because although I went through it 11 years ago, we're on that cycle again, potentially. And generally people cut the extras, right? So what's an extra cost for a company or a person who wants to renovate their house? They're not going to do the interior design stuff, or they might not hire a professional, or they're going to wait just because it doesn't allow it in the finances. So yeah, the struggle was real. And that being said, it was something that it just felt like the NCIDQ for me was not the end point, but it was definitely a really big deal. Like it felt like I didn't actually like get to where I wanted to be unless I did that. It was the completion of that education side of what I do, and you can't actually get that without working. So it was really ingrained in me to do. I'm in this job, I'm working, I got the hours, it's awesome. So I do all the paperwork, which I hope you don't have to do that anymore, guys. I do all the crazy paperwork that you have to fill out and get signed off on all the hours from all the registered designers that you've worked with. And I didn't just work at one place, so there was like a whole bunch of people I had to track down. So I got all of that together. Awesome. I start studying for this exam, and like it's 3 exams, right? So which one did I do first? Somebody said that the drawing one was the hardest, so start with that one first. I don't recommend that, honestly. Like, you got to study for all of them anyways. But so I thought I'm going to do this drawing exam first. Now, if you're new to design or you're currently in school to design, you will never have to experience this level of hell. This exam, this prac exam, was done by hand, y'all. Done by hand. Like manual drafting. I did 1 semester of manual drafting in my first year of school. So like, I forgot what vellum felt like. It just was so bizarre to me that, you know, everything was on CAD, everything was digitized. And here I am studying for this exam. It's an 8-hour, was an 8-hour exam. And I had to manually draft everything. And there's 7 parts. And I've heard that the biggest problem with this exam at the time was it's just you don't have enough time to do the exam. It's just because you're drawing. So it's like you might actually know the answers, but like you're trying to do all your egress, like where your emergency lighting's supposed to be. And then there's a whole floor plan you had to draw out and accessibility, and you had to draw on the furniture. Like this was insane. So it was an 8-hour exam. It was in downtown Toronto, and I don't live near downtown Toronto. So I had to like go there, stay, then get up early and, you know, get all ready to write this exam. So I'm in this like giant classroom because it was at Ryerson University, and all the giant, you know, tables are set up with, you don't have your package yet, but your vellum will go on it. It's a drafting table. Sorry, giant, you guys know what I'm talking about. So giant drafting table. I'm just like, no water, no food, no nothing. Like if you take a break to go to the washroom, like you don't get time. The timer on the clock is not stopped. So like you got to go before you get in there. It was intense. So, and then you have a lunch break, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody because you're writing an exam, but like it's 8 hours. So they have to give you a lunch break. So you have this lunch break, everything's silent, everybody's stressed. So I'm going through this exam, and like I studied, but like I knew I failed before we got to lunch, because you have to pass every single section in order to pass that exam. So I was just like, this is not going well. And I was like, okay, a lot of people obviously had realized that. So they left. People were just like done, and they left. They just bailed. I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do right now, but I'm going to stay and stick it through, because I figured I wasn't feeling so good about things, but at the same time, I was like, I want to at least see, like, do the whole thing. I've paid for it. At least, even if I fail, I've done it all. And then if I have to write it again or draw it again, I would have a really good understanding of what to expect. And back then, it was 16 weeks to get your results. It was brutal. So I wrote the exam. I waited my 16 weeks, and guess what? Surprise, I failed. So I failed this exam, and I don't know what happened, but I really questioned if I even wanted to do it. I just felt like it was so ridiculous. Like, it didn't, to me, feel like it really equated to what I did in the business. It's general for all of North America. So Canada's building codes and the US building codes, they're not the same. They're not super different, but they're not the same. So they kind of create their own that you have to follow. So it's not really what you do every day, but it's not 100% different. But it just, I didn't see the value in it. And that's honest to God, the truth. I just didn't see the value in it. And at the time, things were different. I'm going to start with that before I get too far. Things were different at the time that I wrote it the first time. I knew a lot of people that worked in the business that did not have an NCIDQ, and they still are very successful, and they've done amazing designs. I mean, some really, like one person that I'm thinking of, like has done some of these amazing restaurants in the area that I live in, and they're stunning. Like people talk about them on a regular basis because they're some of the nicest places in town, and they do not have an NCIDQ. So it's not to say that, you can't do our job without having it. It's just, you're not really going to get very far anymore without it. There's a lot of limitations. Like where I am now, it's a requirement. Like, so there's a lot of things that have changed in the last 5 years since I've did my first attempt. So I failed. So it took me a long time. Like I had my baby, had mat leave, and I didn't do anything for 3 years. I just was like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. It really hit a wrong nerve with me. I think just the formatting and the pressure, and I felt like I didn't have the resources that I needed at that time to accurately pass this exam. If anyone's ever written a GMAT exam, like in Canada at least, I don't know what you guys do, but to get into do your MBA, there's a really good structure for how to study for that exam and like what you need to do to get prepared. I do not, and I still to this day do not feel like the NCIQ has enough to prepare you for that exam. However, I discovered this website. Oh, there's two parts to this. I discovered a website, qprac.com, and they basically prepare you for this exam. And it was expensive, but it was worth every single penny. So I decided, you know what, if I really want to move forward in my career and get the really good jobs and really be able to say I am an interior designer and that I've earned that title and that I've done all the work and I've written those 3 exams that are really hard, I'm just going to have to suck it up and realize that there is value in it, even if the way that the process was difficult. I mean, that's how all of these exams are. They're not exactly what you do every day. Your job and the way that the exams are set up, it's understanding your competence, and it's understanding so many things, and that you also have to take all the information that you've learned and apply it, but you have to apply it the way that they want you to, which is, I think, is the hard part, because it's not exactly what you necessarily follow every day, but you should have enough understanding of what you do every day to be able to then take what they're giving you and funnel it all together in magic. So I made the decision. Okay, I'm going to do this again. Now, the second part to that is they changed the exam. Hallelujah. It is no longer a hand-drawn exam, which I'm not going to lie was a really big reason why I was like, okay, I'm willing to do this again. So it went from being an 8-hour hand-drawn exam to a 4.5-hour computer exam. Oh my God. I was just like over the moon excited, not to write an exam, don't get me wrong, but just to like do it in a format that I felt made a lot more sense. So 3 exams, all on the computer, just had to go to a Prometric testing site, which they do exams for everybody. Like that's what they do. They issue exams. Oh, the relief on that was amazing. So 2 parts, found QPrac, and it went online. It went digital. So you guys will never have to suffer through the hell of drawing it out on paper. Lucky you. So I studied my arse off. So I'm talking 3 months. Like so QPrac gives you your actual study schedule. So I was able to know exactly how much time I needed to study everything. And then it had a ton of quizzes and a ton of quizzes. They had like, actual timed exams. So they actually gave you that. The one exam's like 2.5 hours long. So they actually gave you like a timer and basically the format that you would experience. There was actually questions that were really, really similar to what I had on the exam, which was amazing. So I've done all my studying. I've followed the QPrac to a T. Notes, I think I filled like 3 notebooks. It's a lot. So I wrote all 3 exams within 2 weeks of each other. So the first 2 I wrote back to back. So like on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And then I wanted to have a little bit of time for that prac. It was the one that I had a lot of trouble on before. So I did that, I think, the following week. So, bonus, it only took, oh my gosh, I feel like it was 6 to 8 weeks. So instead of the 16 weeks before, it was 6 to 8 weeks to find out if you passed. And it's all digital, right? I was so excited. I passed the first 2 exams. And then I see, so it's like green, green, red. Oh my God. This freaking prac exam is killing me. I failed by 7 points. 7! I was so close. I haven't felt devastation like that in a long time because I feel like the first time around I wasn't nearly as prepared as I was for this one, so I really didn't expect to fail. I really thought I passed. Guys, it was tough. So here I am. I've spent, if any of you that are watching this have paid for these things, they're expensive. I think it's like $1,100 US, which the dollar sucked when I wrote it. So the Canadian dollar to the US dollar. So it cost me, I think, $1,400 to write these exams. So I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I failed this exam again. And then somebody reminding me, you know, you've passed 2 out of the 3. And a lot of people, IDPX, a lot of people have trouble with that one. That one is a lot of really technical knowledge that you need to know for that one. So that one is multiple choice. So the first 2, IDFX, is your fundamentals exam. That's the one that now you can do as soon as you graduate. I'd probably say do it, because if you do that one as soon as you graduate, it's so much theory, like design theory and the stuff that you actually learn in school. So I would say just do it. Like, get that one done. It's so fresh. I felt like I almost had to go back to school. I had been out of school for so long that I really had to like study a lot of that stuff that I would have just known when I had graduated, but they didn't have that option when I did it the first time. So they do now, at least here. I'm sure it's the same everywhere because it's a national exam. So do that one. The second one, IDPX, I know a lot of people that failed by even just a couple points. It's a very, very technically heavy. You just have to know your stuff. And they give you a building code. It's 13 pages, even in the exam, but it's on the computer. So the problem with that is that you don't actually have enough time to like look at the code and then go back. You can do it as a reference check, but you need to know it. So you have to like memorize that 13-page code really in order to write this exam successfully. And a lot of people struggle with that. It's very, very technical. And then you have the prac 2.0, they call it now. And it's 4.5 hours, so much shorter than it used to be. The 3 different buildings. So you have a residential building, you have a commercial space, and then you have a commercial multi-unit space. Very similar to what they used to do with the drawing exam, except now it's online. And they basically ask you questions based on those drawings. Round 2, I passed the first 2. Yay! Failed the third one. I was so sad. But this time I didn't like just say, oh my God, I'm done. I didn't do that this time. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. So I signed up immediately as soon as I could, and I did it again. So this exam has now taken me so long. So I wrote the first one 3 years previous, failed it. Took me 3 years before I was ready to try again. Wrote it, failed it. You can only take this exam twice a year. So I signed up to write this exam again. And I'm just like, the stress was through the roof. It took me a year of studying. And I wrote the exam. I passed. Oh my effing God. I freaking passed. It took me 3 times to pass that exam. I am so proud of myself because I earned it and I paid dearly for that exam. Like money. So I really had gone through everything. I had gone through not thinking it was worth it to thinking it was worth it to getting it. And what is the outcome? I would say get it. Since I've gotten my NCIDQ, I have gotten a promotion and I got a big raise with that. So the reality is it totally paid off. It was a struggle. It wasn't easy. And I've never struggled with studying and getting good grades, and it was hard for me. But I have other friends who did really well in school too and struggle, and other friends who were more average and passed really well. Like, I don't know what the magic is to passing it. It's not giving up. That's all I can say is do not give up. It will pay off. It just doesn't seem like it necessarily in the beginning, but having that credential made me a professional. And by having those letters behind my name, so now my name has NCIDQ after it. By having those letters, I'm able to really promote myself in a different way because I have all the understanding and knowledge that goes into the profession of interior design. And I can say I'm a registered interior designer, and I'm really, really proud of that. And I worked really hard for it. And what I learned from it is if you have a dream to do something and you don't let failure stop you from going after it. You just got to do it again. And that makes you appreciate passing so much more. I definitely would say that because I failed not once, but twice on that stupid exam. No, it's a great exam. Said no one ever. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me patience. It taught me resilience. And it definitely humbled me because I didn't think I would have that type of a problem because this was just so much of my life. I also learned that I could do a lot more than I thought I could because I had a lot going on in my life and I was still able to get it done. So in the end, is the NCIDQ worth it? Yeah, it's totally worth it.